Will the Georgia Bulldogs land this elite five-star game-changing linebacker? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. We're going to talk about that and a lot more because we're going over Georgia's top targets on defense in the 2026 class and where Georgia sits with some of the best in-state players in this recruiting cycle. But I think it's only fair that we start off with the big dog, right? Tyler Atkinson, an elite five-star guy out of Grayson High School, someone that Georgia has been recruiting since the 8th grade. Now, if you're someone out there who says, I don't care, this doesn't matter, recruiting doesn't matter anymore, yada, 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 I'm telling you right now, this kid's a freak. And if he ends up in Athens, and I think there's a good chance that happens, this could be the next Roquan Smith, the next Nakobe Dean, the next Jalen Walker. I mean, this guy has Butkus Award winner, all over him, right? He led Grayson to a state championship as a junior this last fall, tackles everything in sight. He can rush the quarterback. He's an outstanding run defender. He can play outside. He can play inside. This kid can do it all. He's been a phenom, since his middle school days. Everyone has known about this kid, or at least I have, since 7th, 8th grade. It's crazy that he's entering his final season in high school because I've been hearing about this kid for a long, long time. He's the number 1 linebacker in the country, the number 8 overall prospect in America. He's been going to Athens since he was in 8th grade. He's got a great relationship with the staff. This is a kid that Georgia needs to land, but it's not a slam dunk, right? Every major program wants this kid badly because, the sky's the limit. Anything you can imagine that a linebacker can do or can accomplish, this kid can do it. Ohio State is firmly in the mix. Clemson, Texas, Alabama. There's a lot of schools still pushing for him. He was just at Eugene, Oregon a couple weeks ago. So while he is an in-state guy and a major, major Georgia target for a good reason, and he does have a great relationship with Coach Smart and Coach Schumann, they're going to still have to push hard for him because Ohio State wants him badly. And again, Oregon, Texas, Clemson, Alabama, everybody wants this kid. But I continue to hear that Georgia has put themselves in a favorable position. They're recruiting him and his family very well. They're very comfortable in Athens. They know that Glenn Schumann is the best linebackers coach in college football, or at least I think they know that. He is. His resume speaks for itself. 3 Butkus Award winners as he's coached the linebackers in Athens. So, no one's doing it better. They know that Athens is, 45 minutes from Grayson/Loganville. Someone can help me out in the comment section below. But Georgia does sit in a good position. I think that they are the leader. I think they are the team to beat behind the scenes. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up in Athens for the Georgia spring game. I haven't confirmed that. And I don't know exactly when his official visit to Athens will be. I think he's still setting up those official visits. But at the end of the day, I do think Georgia is the team to beat for this elite, truly game-changing linebacker. He made 166 tackles last year, 32 tackles for loss, 13 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, a block kick. If you follow high school football in Georgia, you've known about this kid for a while, and you know he's a game changer and a guy that can do anything you ask of him at the linebacker position. But he's not the only linebacker target that Georgia is after. Xavier Griffin out of Gainesville is committed to Southern Cal. I think if there's any SEC team that could flip him, it's Alabama. I still think Georgia would love to add him. He's the number 2 linebacker in the country, number 3 overall prospect in the state. But I do think Georgia's on the outside looking in. Still, I got to keep an eye on, as is Brandon Rouse over at Cal. He was in Athens, a week and a half ago, mid-March. He'll be back in for an official visit. He's out of Cal High School, 105 tackles, 14 tackles for the loss, 3.5 sacks. Plays offense, too, for Cal. Caught a lot of passes for a lot of yards. Dude's just an overall natural athlete. Tennessee is pushing hard for him. I think Alabama, Florida State, the regulars, right? They're after him too. I wouldn't say Georgia leads for this Cobb County linebacker, but they're very much involved and they do have an official visit. We'll see if things change there, but it's a Metro Atlanta linebacker that a lot of teams, especially in the SEC, really like. He's definitely on Georgia's board. He's a guy to keep an eye on. On the edge, let's go there. Kamari Brooks, I've talked about him a lot, right? He's a local kid, North Oconee. He's going to be back in Athens, making that very short trip to the Classic City this week, we've been told. So another guy who's been in Athens a lot. He's got an official visit set up for the summer, excuse me. That's in June. You can read more about that over on Dawg Post. That's where all the 5-star Georgia fans are. That's where everyone who wants to know the latest and greatest about Georgia football and recruiting, they're over on Dawg Post. None of this information is new. It might be new to you. It's not new to our Dawg Post subscribers who have known about this kind of for a long time. They know about it first in a lot of cases. But Kamari Brooks, number 14 edge, number 113 overall, 131 tackles for North Oconee, 17 tackles for a loss, 13 sacks. This guy gets after it, 24 quarterback hurries. He's got size. He's easy to notice on the field, makes a lot of plays, a top Georgia target. I think he's a top 10 player in the state. I think I like him more than the other outlets do. And I think Georgia's a real player and probably the team to beat for him as well. Dre Quinn is another long, kind of athletic edge defender out of Greater Atlanta Christian in the metro Atlanta area over there in Norcross. I believe he's taking a visit to Notre Dame today. He's on Georgia's board. I don't know if he's a top target for them, but still an in-state guy to keep an eye on that Georgia is very much in the mix for. On the defensive line, Ernest Rankins is another guy at a Southwest DeKalb. 6'4", about 270, number 9 defensive line prospect in the country. His official visit will be June 20th. So that's an Atlanta area kid to keep an eye on. There's others as well that you may not know about a ton right now. But for those names, I want y'all to head over to Dawg Post. The guys that are probably higher ranked right now, Deuce Gerald's, Bryce Perry Wright, and a couple others, leaning elsewhere. So I think if George is going to, land some in-state true defensive linemen, a lot of them could be, I say a lot of them, I don't know how many exactly they're going to try to take right now. But if they're in-state guys, I expect some of them to be the new offers that, of course, you can read over on the website. So, we'll see where they go on the defensive line. In the secondary, Jordan Smith is a guy that I still think Georgia sits in a really good position for. He's out of Houston County, 6'2", 180, tremendous athlete, can play the ball like a receiver. He's long, he's got great instincts, covers a lot of ground. Throw the ball to him on offense if you need to. He's a guy who can help you out in a lot of ways. He's a strong tackler, gets the guy on the ground. He's the number 7 safety, number 106 overall prospect in the country, right? So a solid 4-star guy, and there's a lot to like. He made 85 tackles, 2 interceptions, broke up 7 or more passes. So, the quarterbacks aren't throwing his way deep down the field at his safety spot. It's hard to go deep when you have guys like that in the secondary, but he has no problem coming up and making a big tackle against the run. He runs a 4.38 at, again, 6'2", 180. That's a great time. The kid can fly. Again, he covers a lot of ground. He can make a play on the football when he's in the area, but he's a strong tackler who wraps up. He's fundamentally sound. He gets the guy on the ground. He got a visit from Kirby Smart at his school in Houston County on January 16th. He's got an official visit lined up that you could read more about over on Dawg Post. But there's a couple kids out of Buford High School that I think Georgia fans need to keep an eye on as well. Nasir McCoy is a guy that Georgia's offered. I feel like they got an offer from them at least over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. One of the better defenders on that, loaded Buford defense. He's long, he's athletic, he's been at Athens several times, close relationship with KJ Bolden. So he's a guy who has, been on Georgia's board for a hot minute now, and the guy that Georgia fans need to keep an eye on. Auburn's in the mix, Florida State, a few other schools. I think Tennessee is still involved there. But he's a guy that, if Georgia pushes for, and again, I don't know exactly where he is on their board. He's on it, but if they push for a commitment, I think they're in a really good position for him. And Tyreek Green, who was at Kell to start his high school career, moved over to Buford, and just a ball hawk. I mean, he picked off 5 passes last year in Buford secondary. 5'10", 190. He's putting on more weight and size year after year, which is something I wanted to see out of him. Just a fantastic athlete, offense, defense, special teams. This kid can play. He's just a natural football player with, a competitive drive, a guy who works hard, competes hard, gives it max effort. And a guy who just makes a lot of plays, especially in the secondary. He's the sixth athlete in the country, number 163 overall. Again, he picked off 5 passes. He just finds the football. He's got a nose for it. He also ran for 527 yards and 8 touchdowns. So, at a place like Buford, they don't need guys to go both ways because they've got talent all over the place on offense and defense. So they're not a small school that needs their best player to play both ways. But this kid does it. He can do that for them because he's such a natural athlete and such just a pure football player. And he's got a Georgia offer. If Georgia pushes there, I think they're in a pretty good spot. But just another playmaking kid out of Buford that Georgia has offered. So just a few names on the defensive side of the football in the state of Georgia that I think Georgia fans need to keep an eye on. But at the end of the day, the top dog, the big prize, Tyler Atkinson, the linebacker out of Grayson, the do everything, elite game-changing linebacker, which is exactly what he is. Still think Georgia sits in a good position to land him, but they've got to fight off a lot of major programs. It's not over yet, and they're going to have to keep pushing hard for him if they want to land him. Right now, I still think they've got a good chance. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you over on the website.